بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Who here has ever bought something that turned out to be problematic and you wanted to return it and you could not return it? Anybody ever had that problem? Okay. Yes? So what did you do? You accepted. Okay, all right. So one thing to keep in mind is that sometimes if you are the seller, sometimes if you are in the business of buying and selling, sometimes you will take a loss. If you are a buyer, sometimes things will happen and you will take a loss. That's just reality of life. Of course, that doesn't justify anybody else's bad behavior, but if that happens to us, we should not lose our character during that transaction. And to tell you a sad story about it, one of the brothers that I know, he actually had a situation where he purchased some flight tickets and then his plans changed. And he called the airline to try to get his money back. But they told him that the fee for changing or canceling is $250 and your ticket is $200. So we can cancel the ticket and give you a refund, and you can pay us $250 for each of the 4 or 5 tickets that you have purchased. Basically, if you want to cancel, you pay more than if you don't cancel. You just lose that. So he got so upset, and this is a real case. If that brother is watching, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for you. He got so upset that he started yelling and screaming at them or whatever, basically. And at one point, he said that I'm going to do something really bad to you guys. Okay? And they said, okay, sorry, thank you, hang up, this and that. He goes to work. An hour later, the FBI shows up at his work and puts handcuffs on him and arrest him for making a terroristic threat. Just over $800, he went through a federal terrorist threat crime and got some sort of, I don't know how many months or years of a what you call supervised release, where he had ankle bracelet and a lot of restrictions and all of this type of stuff, over $800 and uncontrolled anger. Okay? So remember that sometimes bad things happen. Don't make it worse. I can bet you that if you ask his brother again, that brother, if you had this to redo over, and he said, you're going to lose your money, or you could pay another $200 and we can cancel it or whatever, what would you do? He would say, whatever they ask for, I'd be happy to pay that money. Because, of course, he ended up paying thousands of dollars in legal fees trying to get some defense attorney and going through all the stress. Him, his family, his kids, his in-laws, everybody just, you can think about how difficult it can be when people do stuff like that. So, the Prophet ﷺ, he encouraged us. He said, رَحِمَ اللَّهُ امْرَأً سَمْحًا إِذَا بَاعَ وَسَمْحًا إِذَا اشْتَرَى وَسَمْحًا إِذَا اقْتَضَى. That may Allah have mercy on the one, he's making dua for the one, who when he buys, he is easygoing, he's calm. The way that he is conducting the trade, he's not losing his character. Okay? Samhan, he is calm, peaceful, serene, not jittery, not jumpy, not so stressed out and anxious over this trade that it must go his way, but rather take it easy. So the one who is samhan idha ba'a, who is easygoing when he's buying, easygoing when he's selling, and easygoing when he's demanding his right. Like somebody owes him money, the way you're dealing with that person, be easygoing. Don't lose yourself over it, because money comes, money goes. Sometimes you gain, sometimes you lose. So don't put yourself in a situation where you will look back and you will be like, why did I do such a unintelligent thing? So today we'll talk about if you bought or sold something and turns out that there was a problem in that trade in a number of different ways. When do you have the option to cancel? When do you have the option to cancel? So the Prophet ﷺ said, البايعان بالخيار ما لم يتفرقا فإن صدقا وبينا بورك لهما في بيعهما وإن كذبا وكتما محق بركة بيعهما. He says that the two people, the buyer and the seller, they have the right to return or cancel the deal as long as they don't separate from each other. So they are together, they are discussing a deal, they are still with each other together for 2 hours. After 2 hours, one of them says, hey, you know what we talked about like about 2 hours ago? I want to cancel that. I don't think I'm serious about that. As long as they are still together in the same session, they have the right to do so. So the first option that you have, or what you call a protection or a warranty to cancel a trade without any losses, number one is that if you are still in the same session, if you're still in the same session where that deal was conducted. So let's say that you went to a store and you were buying something or discussing or planning to buy something, or you just bought something, and after you bought it, you just stood there and you talked to the guy and you kept talking for like 2 hours. Do you have the right to return for full refund? Yes, you do. Okay, because they did not separate yet. Now, we're not talking about legal stuff. Of course, one of the things, by the way, Junaid Jamshed, rahimahullah, he has one of the most popular, he owned, and now his family does, and he has some partners, owned one of the most famous clothing brands in Pakistan, which is what? J. Dot. Okay? He actually has a lecture on return policy. He says that look at how bad our economies are doing. And in most places where economy is bad, third world countries, lots of corruption, what do they have? They have no return policy. Correct or incorrect? And he says that if you go to the fledgling economies of the world, Western countries, most of the times return policy is completely normal. Right or wrong? So he says that when he was starting this business, he came up with a couple of different rules. Basically, one of them was that they will accept returns. And subhanAllah, this is something that allows people confidence in your item. If you are confident in what you are selling, of course, certain things cannot be returned, like food items, okay? You don't know what the other person did. If you accept it, maybe you will do it for the sake of keeping the customer. But of course, that item you cannot resell again, because what if that person took it home? It was supposed to be frozen. They just didn't keep it frozen, and they're bringing it back. All of those issues happen. But certain items, if that's not an issue, then this is one of the things that gives the buyers more confidence in buying from you instead of the other guy who says no returns whatsoever. So the Prophet says as long as they are together, they have the goal, Ibn al-Qayyim says, the goal of the Shariah is that the buyer and the seller have full consent and satisfaction in their trade. The Shariah wants you to be happy. Happy buyer, happy seller. If for any reason you change your mind and you're still in the same session, you have a return policy there. One of the things that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in one hadith, he said that the person should not try to leave quickly in order to finalize the deal. Like two people, they got together, they discussed a deal. Once they have the deal, one of these guys who's eager to make this, he wants to finalize it. So he says, oh, excuse me, I have to go somewhere. In order to forcefully, basically finalize and solidify that deal, You shouldn't do that if you don't have a real reason to do that. If you have to go, you have to go, but just to rush out so that it could be finalized, it should not be done, because again, you don't want to have somebody buy something from you or sell something to you unless they are happy and you're happy. Okay, that should be the goal. Number two is that the buyer and the seller, when they make a deal, they can stipulate among themselves. They could say, okay, look, you have 7 days to inspect, and within 7 days you can bring it back. Okay, and that's basically what a lot of the stores do now, where basically the receipt prints the conditions on the back, and it will say the return policy on such and such items for this many days. And this is completely normal and okay, that they both basically agree upon it, that this is what the return policy is. In this case, you can bring it back as long as you meet the conditions. In some cases, they say, we will take returns as long as you don't open it. In some cases, they'll say, we will take returns as long as you still have the original packaging. Even if you opened it, but you still have the packaging, you bring it back, we'll take it. In some cases, they'll say, if you bring it back, we will take it, but we will charge you a 10% restocking fee. Or whatever the conditions are, if you agree to it, then that's acceptable. Again, he said that some items, of course, sometimes there is abuse, and sometimes the seller, he knows, or the seller company knows that there is abuse, but they say, you know what, the amount of abuse that we get compared to the amount of sales that we get as a result of having this policy is worthwhile our risk. Okay, so there are lots of studies like that. So if they both agree, there is no problem in that, and they can do so. Number three is in case of deception. Okay, now let's say there is no return policy, but you feel and you have proof that you were deceived in this sale, either from the buyer side or the seller side. The Prophet ﷺ said, the property of a Muslim is not halal except by his consent. You cannot, if somebody was deceived into giving you the consent, then that consent doesn't matter. It doesn't actually apply. So it could be in a number of cases, but it has to be a significant loss, and it must be something which is not common. So for example, if you buy 10 pounds of rice, and you come home and you weigh it, and it happens to be 9.87 pounds instead of 10 pounds. Is this something that you can go back and ask for a return policy? You can. Most of the times they will do it, and it would be reasonable to do so. But let's say that it was like 9.97, like really small, minute. In this case, you're really pushing it, because a lot of times, this time you got like 0.3 pounds, 0.03 pounds less. There were plenty of times where you got more than that extra. Okay, that's part of the common general measurement, basically. So if it is a significant loss and it's not common, so what can you give me an example of something where you buy something where it's common that it will not be precisely what it is marketed as? Anybody have an example? What is that? Vegetables, if you buy them in a pack, maybe, right? Generally, they weigh it, and you buy by weight. Anything else anybody can think of where it's not exactly 100% precise? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so actually that's a great example. Prepared food at any restaurant. Sometimes your plate of food might be a little bit bigger than the last time before. It's not meant to be an exact measurement to the T, but rather it could be a little bit more, a little bit less. It's accepted, it's common, and it's not supposed to be a big deal that if you got like, 2 spoons less of rice this time than you got last time. So what are types of deception? One of them, it could be fake pricing. Fake pricing is when a person, I'll tell you this is something, this would fall in that, and it's a deception, and Islamically it's not allowed. I heard of a person who sells fake perfume on Amazon, fake as in their fake brand name perfumes, and he's selling them for full price. The price of a real, not the price of a fake. Now his strategy is that if he sells 100 perfumes that are all fake, and he's getting them for, let's say, $10, and he's selling them for like $90, out of the 100, a maximum, maybe like 25 or 30 people will actually complain and say, hey, this perfume is not real, because who really checks? So he says anyone who complains, they immediately give them a full discount, full refund, and they say keep the perfume as well. Okay? But the other 70, they made a full profit on it. Okay, so this is, of course, this person is earning haram, and they are cheating people. That's all on them. However, we are learning that we should not be doing anything like that. And so sometimes the way you do is that the item is $1, and you market it for $10, because your strategy is when someone comes and says, hey, $10 is too much, you're going to negotiate somewhere still well above $1, which is the market value of the price. Okay? This is fake pricing, and this could be considered where you can go back and say, hey, I want my money back. I don't want your product because you cheated me. This product is not worth what you're selling it for. Not what I paid for, and definitely not what you were marketing it for. Okay, that was a psychological strategy being used to deceive people, thinking, oh man, this was a $10 product and I got it for $4. Not realizing that even the $4 was way above the market value of that actual product. Number 2, it could be fake bidding to increase prices, which is that you are going to be auctioning off something, and it could be different ways of doing that, and you have a friend of yours come to the auction pretending to be a stranger interested in buying that, and when you bid $10, that other guy, he says $12. You say, oh, okay, $14. He bids. Even if you paid, a single cent more, and you later find out that there was a fake bidder in the process, you can go back and you can say, I want all my money back and I don't want this product. Or whenever you have an option to cancel, you have the option to renegotiate. Okay, you could say, okay, well, I'll keep the car, but I want some of my money back because of the way you cheated me, or whatever the case was. Number 3, deception is when you sell something to a gullible buyer or a gullible seller. Okay? A gullible person is someone who is very innocent, naive, and they come in the market maybe first time, they're new, and they're not mature enough to understand how people can be, and someone comes and takes advantage of them in a significant way. Okay, and that's why, subhanAllah, in Islam, remember when we talked about marriage, we mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the father of a girl who has never been married before the right to refuse a man who wants to marry her. The reason why is because the young girl who has never been married before, she doesn't have experience of how men can be. Strange men, how they can be manipulative, how they can take advantage, all of the bad things that could happen in the world. Usually this young girl, she grew up in a very caring and protective household. She doesn't know the world just yet. You know, just 2 weekends ago, my daughter, she went to a store and she bought these earrings. And the person told, not earrings, these are these magnets that keep your hijab together and whatever. And they said that these magnets, they are strong as steel. That you can break steel, but these magnets will not come off unless you want them to come off. Okay, and they're better than anything they're selling on Amazon and this and that. So I just heard her and I just laughed. Now, of course, this was like a $5 thing, so no big deal. But had it been a really big deal, had she come and she say, I bought this laptop, we would go back there and we would say, hey, you took advantage of this girl who doesn't know the market conditions yet. She's not old enough, she's not mature enough, and you took advantage of a gullible buyer. So the Prophet ﷺ said, cheating a gullible buyer is riba. Okay? If you sell something or buy something from someone who you realize, oh, this person is like just innocent person, they don't know what's going on, and you say, okay, you know what, I'm going to take advantage of them. You pay less than the market value or charge them higher than the market value. Whatever extra you got there, this is considered riba. This is considered cheating. And it's haram for a person to do so. Now, what can a person do in order to make sure that they are not cheating a gullible buyer or a gullible seller? What do you think? What is that? Not cheat them, but how could you verify that what you're getting, of course, you want to get a good deal, but how could you make sure that the deal is not too good, that it would be that this gullible person didn't realize? You could use a market comparison strategy, right? You could either say, okay, you know what? Hey, stranger, can you come here? Do you know about this? Is this okay? Is this a good price for this item? Okay, that could be one way. You could also go and look up what other stores are selling this product for, and you kind of sell it or buy it in the ballpark area. Basically, you need to make sure that you are not taking advantage. In these cases, my concern should be that I should not be the cheater. Okay? Not only I should not be the cheater, I should not be perceived by someone to be a cheater. Maybe this person will grow up and they will remember this transaction. They'll say, you know what? There was an imam, he bought something from me and he cheated me. Because shaitan is whispering. It could be a family member or friend tell him, oh, what? They bought it for this much? Wow, you really fell for it. They cheated you. Now, even though you may not have cheated, but you didn't have any type of way to establish that you're not cheating, and you could actually, your reputation could be damaged. And that's why sometimes some people, they won't even deal with a gullible buyer, not because of that person, but because of their own reputation. That you want to not fall for this. You know the famous story that it is said that Imam al-Bukhari, one day he was traveling on a boat, and he had a bag full of a certain amount of gold coins, currency basically. And a man started talking to him, and while talking to him, he figured out that he has this much money with him. So this man was a thief, a very smart thief. He went to the captain, and he said to the captain, he said that when I got on board, I had, let's say, 30,000 gold coins with me, and they are missing from my luggage. But we are on boat, nobody got off. So can you go and check everybody's luggage to see who stole it from me? Now that is really crooked, right? Really clever. So as soon as they made an announcement that we're going to check everybody's luggage to find out who the thief is, what did Imam Bukhari do? The story is that he took that and he threw it overboard. And later on, the man, after they checked his luggage, they didn't find anything. They didn't find it anywhere. The man came to him. He said, you threw over that much money? So he said that I spent my entire life collecting hadith and collecting it from truthful people and trustworthy people. And this amount of money, if it had been found in my luggage and the allegation was made against me that I was a thief, all of my life's work would be wasted. So that is worth more than this money that I just threw over. So think about your reputation as well when you're dealing with people. Sometimes it's not worth the good deal or to protect your loss while losing your reputation over it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us all and protect our honor. Number 4, options in case of cheating. So the deception is when there was a problem with the pricing. Cheating is when the item has a problem in it. The item is not what it seems. The buyer was kept in a state of darkness so that the latter would be unable to see the defect. There could be 2 types. It could be that the seller was hiding the defect, or the seller was displaying the commodity, the item, in such a beautiful way in order to raise its price. Okay, so one example I have there is an old man with jet black hair. Okay, like in case of like marriage. Also, for example, they say that when it comes to marriage, especially if you're not that young 20-year-old, you're an older person getting married, you have to make sure that the other person knows what they're getting. If you don't have hair and you wear a wig, or you have white hair, but when you go and you meet them, it's always like properly black and everything. If there's a lot of makeup, if there is any type of special clothing which makes you look different, all sorts of strategies are there for people to deceive. In that case, if a person realizes later on that what I was shown, whether in marriage or buying and selling, what I was shown is not what I got, they have an option to cancel or renegotiate. Okay, and by the way, age is a big thing, like we mentioned last time, that a lot of times, may Allah protect us, but people lie in their age when it comes to marriage in order to try to look more appealing. One of the things they used to do in the time of the Prophet is that they would be selling a camel or a sheep, and they did not milk it for many days. So its udders are full of milk, and they bring it into the market. So when a buyer comes and he says, "Oh wow, this camel gives a lot of milk," because the camel hasn't been milked for several days, so they're completely full. They're like, "Wow." Then when they take it home and they milk it the first time, now it's not producing that much milk. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Don't do this. And if you do this, you know what can that buyer do? The buyer can come back, give you the camel back, take the money, accept the price of the milk that they got from this camel." So if they took 2 gallons of milk from it, say, okay, you pay the 2 gallons of milk price, but the rest you get a refund, because basically that person was deceived into buying this item. Now, anybody has an interesting story about deception, about cheating in something that you bought that didn't look like the way that it looked, that it wasn't what it looked like? Right. He put his hand inside. Yeah. No, but I'm saying from personal experience, anybody would like to share? Cars are the best example. So one time what happened to me, yes, go ahead. Yeah, so it depends, So one of the things that they do is dealers have a lot of tricks. and where they'll have a car and that car looks like spotless until you drive it. That's a case of an old man with black hair. So, they have to disclose and again give you a chance to check it properly. There are different tricks. So one time this happened to me that I bought a car, and this guy, he said, look, the muffler, the silencer of the car is broken. So I test drove the car. It was super loud, super loud. He says, look, it cost about, how much do you think it cost to fix it? Back in those days, it was like $150. They're like, okay, I'll reduce $150 from the price. I'm like, okay. I bring the car home, hiding from the police. Whenever there's police nearby, I don't hit gas. Because if you press the gas and it's so loud, you get a ticket for it. So I make it home. I take it to a repair shop. They fix the repair, and I bring the car out. And now guess what? Now that the loud noise is gone, there's another noise which is coming from the engine, which you could not hear because of the loud noise of the broken muffler. So now, of course, that guy was nowhere to be found. But things like this. So Islamically, I had the right to go back to him and say, hey, I want my money back. And I want even the money of the repair of that muffler that I paid. I want that, whatever the total comes out to that I lost, I need it back, and you take your car back. Islamically, if that happens, now sometimes the seller themselves may not know that this is a problem. Okay, it could have been an honest guy. He couldn't hear it as well. But still, the buyer has the right to return. The buyer still has the right to return, even if it was unintentional hidden defect. Okay? In this case, who picks up the loss? The seller, right? That's part of life. Sometimes you have plans to sell something and it goes bad before you get a chance to sell it. That's part of life. So it's not like, well, somebody has to pay me and I need to get it off. No, you cannot cheat somebody else. Now, what the seller could do is that either they could put some more investment, have it repaired, and then sell it, or they could sell it as is, disclosing this problem, allowing a person to inspect the product to their satisfaction, and then sell it to them. Okay, so the general rule is that hidden defects, something that could not have been tested, the buyer has a right to return. Because there are some things that the only way you would tell is if you actually bring it home. Maybe you have to drive at a significant speed, which you're not going to do in a test drive. You have to do this. You have, a whole bunch of stuff has to be done. When you just normally use it, then you realize, oh, there's a problem in this. If it was a problem that's there from the beginning, but you couldn't tell, you have a right to return. So when they sell as is, as a Muslim, you have to be a little bit more precise and say, look, this is, if you think that there's a significant problem, you should tell the person, look, you can take the car to a mechanic or bring a mechanic here. What is that? Yeah, if that's usually a red flag, if they don't allow it, if they don't allow a proper inspection, because some things can only be seen when you lift the car up. Okay? You cannot see it, even if you try to get under, it's just hard because of the lighting and all of that. So all of these type of things happen. Same thing happens with, like, for example, houses. When you buy a house, there could be hidden defects that you could not know until you start living there. One time I had a house where they had some sort of like spray paint, which looked very good at the spot, but after a few days it started peeling off, but it was too late for that. So things of that nature. All right. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said that, look, if you فَإِن صَدَقَ وَبَيَّنَ بُورِكَ لَهُمَا فِي بَيْعِهِمَا. If they are truthful and they clarify whatever it is. Look, these are all the problems in this. This is what I know. You want it? Fine. If you don't want it, that's fine as well. If you are upfront about the thing that you're selling, the Prophet ﷺ says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put barakah in your trade. And if they are trying to cheat each other, or one of them is trying to cheat, that person will have no barakah in this. And the one who is being honest, they will, of course, Allah does not place a burden on someone who did not commit anything wrong. So whoever tries to cheat, they might be able to get a good deal, but there will be no barakah in that. Number 5, and inshallah we'll finish just a few more slides. By 8:30, inshallah, we'll finish. Number 5 is option in case of defect, which is basically the lemon law. If someone sells you something that has a significant defect and it was not mentioned, or even the seller didn't know it, the buyer has the right to return it or reduce the price of it. In the case of cheating, it was a little bit slightly different. In the case of defect, it is basically, even if the seller did not know it, you still have a right to go back. So in America, there's something called the lemon law. The lemon law states that if you bought something, especially car, and it turns out to be a lemon, which means that it was not a good quality, it was bad, but what they do is that they have certain polishes, they have certain like oil, certain spray that they can do and make the engine look brand new. The covers of it, all of these different polish makes you feel like, oh, it looks so good, but when you drive it, it's really bad. Or when you take it home, then you start realizing things are falling apart. So you have a protection by the law. Number 6 is misrepresentation of value. The true price paid for by the seller is misrepresented. So the seller says that I paid $12 for it and I'm selling it for $15. But actually, the buyer figures out later on that actually the guy did not buy it for $12. He actually paid $10 for it. Right? Now, out of courtesy, a good person says, well, this person bought it for $12, so $3 is reasonable profit. Now, had he known that he actually bought it for $10, he would have said $13 is reasonable price for it, or something else. But he was deceived, so this was misrepresentation of the value. In this case, the buyer can go back and say, hey, either give me this discount or take the product back completely. Another thing is that the true capital, so there's a business partnership taking place, and one partner says, hey, I have put $75,000 in it, and I am going to get 75% share, and you put $25,000, and you will get 25% share, and it's a $100,000 investment. Later on, the 25% guy, he figures out that this $75,000 guy actually did not put $75,000. Maybe they only put, $30,000 or something like that, but somehow they were able to make it look like, oh, I put all of this. Of course, who asked for actual proofs and checks and this and that? So then he finds out that this guy paid similar to what I paid in terms of this investment, but his ownership is much more than mine. So in this case, this person can say, okay, look, I want all of my money back, and I'm out of this business. Or he could say that we want to renegotiate the share that we own to be closer to more representative of that, okay? We'll talk a little bit more about partnerships coming up, where there could be different types of value that could be brought in, okay? It doesn't always have to be money. Sometimes you have a partner who has a very good reputation. He did not put a single dollar in it, but you want him as a partner because his reputation is very good. And for them to be a partner with you, it will bring you a lot more profit than if this person wasn't there. That's understandable as well, and that's called wujuh, the face, basically reputation of a person. So, all right, number 7 is in case they differ with each other. Okay, so they have an agreement, and then they want to check what's going on, and they differ. He says, hey, I promise to sell it to you for $10. The other person says, no, you promised to sell it to me for $5. So what do you do in case of difference? In case of difference, each of them, they swear by Allah that he's telling the truth. So I'm the buyer, you're the seller. I say, I swear by Allah that I remember you telling me $10 is what you are going to, that you're going to sell it to me for $5. You say to me, I swear by Allah that I remember saying that I will sell it to you for $10. Now, if both of them, if the buyer takes an oath, maybe the seller says, okay, well, you know what, since we have taken an oath, I am not like 100% sure, but since we have taken an oath, I am satisfied with your oath. I know that you're not a lying person, you're not a cheating person. If you have taken an oath, maybe I'm remembering wrong. Here, I sell it to you for $5. Or the seller says, I swear by Allah that I told you that I'm going to sell it to you for $10. You must have misheard $5 about something else. So the buyer says, well, you know what, since I trust you and you have always been honest, I am satisfied with your oath. Okay, here's $10. If they both reach that satisfaction through the oath, then fine. If not, if they are not satisfied, they have the right to say, okay, no more, no sale whatsoever. Okay? You keep your item, I keep my money. Has this ever happened to anyone? Disagreement in price or value? Yeah, it has happened to me. It has happened to other people who came and talked to me about it. So sometimes it happens, and the good idea to prevent that, especially when you're talking about significant stuff, a good idea is to do what? Do it in writing, okay? It could even be as simple as a text message. It could be an email. It could be a paper written value or something like that. If you think that these are issues where things are sensitive, do everything to protect yourself and protect your reputation. Now, the person that it happened between me and this person, it happened like this. After that, our relationship was never the same. We decided not to do that, but after that, the relationship was never the same. I think that he misheard me. He thinks that I misheard him. Whatever the case was. But then that relationship, which was very close before, it was never the same again. So it's better to avoid those situations by taking some sort of protective measure. Number 8, and the last one for today, is option in case of a quality change. So you agree to buy a person's car, or let me give another example. You went to a friend's house last year, and you remember that when it was time to sleep, you slept on his couch. And that couch was so comfortable. Now, a year later, you need his couch. And you say, hey, you remember that couch that I slept on that was so good and I really liked it? Do you want to sell it? He says, yeah, I want to sell it. So you agree on a price, thinking that that couch was the one that you slept on in terms of its quality. But you don't know that after you left, another person came and slept on that couch. And that couch is not the same anymore. So when you bring that couch, you realize that, man, when I slept on it, that couch was like new. It was like barely used. And now this couch looks like, it has gone to war and just come back. It's making sounds, it's not tight, and it's not, it's all like all sorts of bad stuff, as you can imagine what a couch could be. So in this case, you have a right to say, hey, the couch that I thought I was buying was the couch that I slept on. It is the same couch, but the quality of it is not the same anymore. Okay? And it is not the normal 1 year wear and tear, but rather it is much more than that. Okay? So in this case, lately I was buying a car, and I actually went and test drove a car which drove worse than some of the other cars that were 5-6 years older than it, because of the way that it had been used. So it doesn't mean just because it's new, it drives like new. So in this case, the buyer has a right of option whether to cancel or confirm the deal. They could say, okay, you know what? I don't want this couch. I want my money back. I need to buy another couch. Or they might say, if you want to protect your friendship, sometimes you just take a loss and you say, okay, you know what? Let's just forget about it. I'm going to throw this couch out. I won't even tell my friend about it, and I will buy a new couch. So, but Islamically, if you wanted to, and the thing actually mattered to you more, you could actually go back and you could say, I want that to be changed. Lastly is selling what does not own. We talked about it before. Essentially, anything that you sell, you should have full ownership and possession of it. The issue of selling something that you don't own is a controversial issue. For example, someone buys a house, but they don't buy it, they put it under contract. Okay, they say, okay, we have a contract, I'm going to buy your house, our closing is going to be in 60 days. So you sign a contract that you will sell the house to me for $100,000. Now, I go in the market and I start looking for people who want to buy a house, and I tell them, I will sell you this house for $125,000. Do I own this house yet? Do I have possession of this house yet? The answer is no. I have an agreement that I will buy it at some point. This can also apply to people who buy a product online and they sell it online and they never touch it. They never see it. They never take ownership of it. This is, again, we discussed a little controversial issue as well. Also, there's something that happens which is called speculation. Speculation is when a tanker of oil, for example, leaves Saudi Arabia and it's coming to the United States. By the time that it reaches the United States, it may have been bought and sold several times. And this speculation is actually what increases. So whenever there's a shortage, then people buy a tanker on paper and they sell it on paper. Then the next person buys it and the oil prices are even, oil amount is short, so there's lots of demand. So companies want to buy a whole lot of oil. So this guy, he sells it again to another company. That company that bought it, already 2 previous owners, and the tanker is still on water, it's traveling. It didn't arrive here yet. They get an offer from someone else willing to pay higher for this tanker of oil. So this issue is an issue where the standard ruling on this is that it's not allowed for you to buy or sell. It's not allowed for you to sell something that you don't fully own. You're supposed to own it. You're supposed to take it, have possession of it. Now, why is it controversial? Because now we are living in a modern time where a company sells you a stock of product and you then sell it on Amazon. The company says the product is yours. When you get orders from your Amazon store, we will connect our company to your store's website. You can sell it on whatever price. We just want the $10 for it. You can sell it for $100 if you want. And we will ship it directly to the seller. And you never have to worry about it, right? Which is called Amazon Direct or drop shipping, okay? Fulfilled by Amazon, FBA, all of these type of things. So a person who wants to do that or is doing that, they need to do more research and make sure that whether it's halal or not. Now, what would you do is if you wanted to do that, if you were trying to or thinking of doing that, I will give you a phone number, actually a website of two shuyukh who are experts in Islamic finance. What you do is that you will book a call time with them, and you will ask them, look, Sheikh, this is what I'm doing. Is it okay? That Sheikh, he will say, yes, it's okay, or no, it's not okay. If he says it's okay, you can tell him, can you give it to me in writing? Like, can you send me an email saying, yes, this method of business that you're doing is okay. This is for you to feel satisfied that what I'm doing is halal and there's no doubt in it. Okay? That there's a sheikh who's a qualified, reputable person who has given me his judgment that this matter is okay. If there's any doubt, avoid the doubt. Okay? Avoid the doubt. Inshallah, next week we will discuss riba and its types and how it's possible in so many different ways. This is, a lot of people think the only thing that's not allowed when it comes to money is riba, right? But look at how much we have discussed so far, and we haven't even gotten to riba yet. So Islamic finance is a little bit more than that, but essentially the general rule is no one should be oppressed. No one should be cheated. No games should be played. And then riba is what will come later. Yes. The class is over. If anybody needs to leave, you can leave. Subhanakallah.